Hi, everyone. Thanks for making the transition over to the last session on co-requisites in practice. I am in the process of just sharing out the link for today to Keelan, who wanted to come back in order just to ask some of the questions from this morning that did not get answered. So I am giving him about 2 more minutes just to get in here. So we can start that. So if you need to step away for a minute or two, please feel free to do so. We'll get started in the next couple of minutes. At that point, after Keelan offers his answers to a couple of questions, then we will transition over to Frank Savina from the Dana Center. Allegra, as I mentioned earlier, today is under the weather, so I'm stepping in, but then we also have John Heron and Ana Alanis who will be talking. They are some of our mentors and some of our wonderful trainers within the CTN network. So let me see. Also, a couple of things I just wanted to share since there's a few people who haven't been with us fully this morning. One, everybody will be on mute, and that's just more to be able to block out any like ambient noises or things that might disrupt folks. For example, my dog has been barking all morning, so if nothing else, so y'all don't have to listen to that. There is a questions function that I encourage y'all to use. I have been monitoring that. So Jeanette, hello. Thank you for making good use of that. So please feel free to do that. There's also a chat function. So if there's anything that you want to say to the full audience or just say to me, you can put comments or questions anywhere in that. We'll also be putting together a short little questionnaire just to ask how things have gone, how you like this format and everything like that. I know that this has been a not very smooth process, so thank you all for going with us on that. It's been quite a morning. And then last but not least, I will put in the chat function the information if you are interested in getting the UT Austin credit for this and who you need to talk to and whatnot. So we have Keelan here. I'm going to go ahead and unmute him. So Keelan, thank you very much for coming back. We really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
So I had a couple of questions. One from Jonathan Bell. I had a question. Jonathan is at South Texas College. It says, "Hi, Keelan. Are there any plans to make all freshman level courses co-req courses? I don't see much difference in the pencil and paper skills typical college ready and non-college ready students at the beginning of the semester. I think all students taking a freshman level math course would benefit from taking a co-req course."
Wow, that's a very interesting question. The statewide perspective to that is technically, when it comes to math, all first college level courses are, well, they're not co-requisites, but they're required the demonstration of college readiness. So the answer in essence is no, because per statute, you can't require a college ready student to engage in developmental or remedial coursework. So we couldn't require that all first college level courses be co-requisite. However, I think I did share, I've had like 3 webinars this morning and I had 2 on yesterday. I might be conflating the conversations at this point, but we strongly encourage faculty that are teaching just standalone first college level courses. Like if you're teaching a college algebra course where all of the students have already demonstrated the college readiness standard, to really embrace the fact that they do and feel empowered to require additional supports for students that are enrolled in those courses. We do understand, and I shared with you all a very vivid example of students don't do optional, so to speak, where they're usually aware of the resources available to them, particularly those academic resources that can help them be successful in those college level courses. However, for various reasons, I don't have the time, or I planned to do it, but I decided to go eat and I just never made it back for whatever reason, or the scheduling of that particular resource juxtaposed against their schedule. For a variety of resources, students don't do optional, but if it's required, that's one way that you can have a correct like. You can have it still will provide the student with just-in-time support for those muddy areas that they may experience in that college level course. However, it wouldn't be statutorily or rule mandated as co-requisite, the support component of co-requisite models are. So the answer to that question is I don't foresee that happening. And one of the things that the new administration, our commissioner, Dr. Harrison Keller, he values us being thought partners more so with our institutions, and really not being not acting as an agency of compliance to where we're giving you one more rule to follow, but providing you with a framework to operate in that you may be innovative and really seek to serve the students of your population, as we know that even between whether it's a community college or a four-year institution, when you step foot on another campus respectively, the demographic can be very different. So we just really want to make sure that we act as thought partners and definitely providing you with the framework of success, kind of like with some of the examples that I just shared, to help you be innovative in serving and supporting your students.
Excellent. Thank you. And then we had a question, and sadly, I'm sorry to whoever asked it. I did not write down your name, and I apologize. But someone was asking, does that mean that with prerequisites, there would not be any more INRW 0420? So I believe that is the highest level of integrated reading and writing on that respective campus. So I think it was just asking about clarification on the classes under INRW that will still exist versus the ones that are going away.
In theory, nothing is going away. It's how it transposes back to the calculation for the institution in regards to House Bill 2223, specifically related to enrollments. So if you have a standalone developmental education reading course and you place a House Bill 2223 eligible student into that course, you will not get House Bill 2223 enrollment credit for that student being in that developmental course, even if you have paired that standalone developmental reading course with a first college level course, and let's just say like psychology. It has to be an exit level integrated reading and writing course. Now, it's twofold. So House Bill 2223 mandates that you have certain students that are enrolled in developmental education enrolled in co-requisite models to the appropriate thresholds. In this upcoming fall, we'll be at the 75% mark. I highlight that to tell you that even at 75%, 25% of students, let's just say you have that ABE level 4 student, and the institution has an apprehension on putting them in a co-requisite model, and you have your INRW 0420 co-rect with Comp 1301, with English Comp 1301. Some students might go into the co-rec, your level 5, 6, they're required to, and let's just say that level 4 student, they were given the option. You can either go into the co-rec model, or we still have this exit level developmental education course, the 0420, that standalone that you can enroll in and not have the, I use the word very loosely, burden of doing that in conjunction with the first college level course. That student may be placed in the 0420 standalone. So the institution has that option, but from the coordinating board perspective, we highly suggest that institutions curtail their messaging to really push students to understand the value of the co-requisite models. For instance, the student in the 0420 standalone course, by all means, it's the institutional's discretion to do that. Now, that student, let's just say they were successful in the 0420, they're now TSI met. That student the next semester would then enroll in that first college level course. However, it's now standalone and they don't have any just-in-time or attentional required support associated with that course to help them be successful. And that's where we have to lean back on, will the student do optional, or has the faculty member been innovative enough to require additional supports, built-in mechanisms to help the students be successful. So juxtapose that or compare that against the ABE level 4 student, that same type of student that's now in the co-requisite model. And again, I use it loosely, but now they have the quote unquote burden of now they're doing the first college level course and that 0420 at the same time. However, the 0420 in the co-requisite model, the design is, even under the rule, is as such to be just in time support to what's happening in the first college level course, in that first college level course. So even though the student is taking the same course, the facilitation of that course could look very different pending the model, pending how that model is being employed, whether it's standalone or co-requisite. So to specifically answer the question, there's not really courses that are going away. Institutions have to be, and in essence, we can say per statute, you should not be offering standalone developmental reading or writing courses. However, we haven't had talk to where we're going to take away those zip codes or anything, or they will cease to exist in the academic course guide manual or the ACGM, which all community colleges are required to follow. So I don't think the courses are going away, but the institutions will have to be very much intentional in what course offerings that they are offering.
Excellent. Great. I think that might be it on the questions. So just thank you very much, Keelan, for returning. And it seemed from your presentation that you were very open. If folks ever wanted to reach out to you via email, it sounded like you know, being at home, you were willing to do any sort of virtual meetings to help clarify any of this for folks.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So thank you for being so hands-on and being so open, especially from the state level, and clarifying all of these different changes that will that have been happening for several years now and then are being updated. So thank you very, very much.
Sounds good. And do y'all have any additional meetings today?
We are getting ready to transition to one more, co-requisites in practice, and then that'll be it for the day.
Awesome. What time is that one starting?
It starts right now.
All right. Could you send me the link? Say I'd like to just be fly on the wall.
You can actually just stay right where you are.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. So fantastic. So Keelan, I am going to mute you just
Not a problem at all.
as an attendee. And then I am going to hand this over to Mr. Frank Savina from the Dana Center. All right, Frank, over to you. Oh, hold on one sec, Frank. I think I accidentally have you muted. Okay, let's see. Okay, Frank, I can't hear you.
How about now?
Now I can hear you.
Great. So is it possible to switch? Let me see if I can move this over here. There we go. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Now you can see my screen, hopefully. I'm going to share a few links with everybody.
Sure. And Frank, if you want to send me anything that I can share out, you're welcome to do so.
Great. So hi everybody. This beard here represents day 9 of social isolation. I apologize for what this is making you feel like in terms of your own eyes. But please rest assured, my wife has it way tougher having to deal with this every day. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Frank Savina. I work for the Charles A. Dana Center. For those of you that may not know, the Dana Center is actually an organized research unit at the University of Texas at Austin. And we're dedicated to the idea of equity and access in math and science education from K through 14. So I'm actually on the higher ed team, and I get to work on curriculum development and professional learning. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about what I can offer in terms of support at this point. And I just wanted to begin by acknowledging that math teachers everywhere have it really tough right now. We're transitioning to doing something we may not be used to doing. And teaching online can be very, very difficult. So I just wanted to let you all know that the Dana Center does have some no-cost support available to everyone in the form of forums. These forums are taking place roughly twice a week. And they're pretty neat because what we're doing is just bringing professors together from all over the country, and it becomes a forum where we're sharing ideas, discussing issues, and those kinds of things. Usually we have 2 or 3 Dana Center people on the actual chat to kind of add their own stuff into the conversation. I got to participate yesterday, and I got to listen to some really amazing conversations related to the idea of grading, right? And all of the issues related to testing and those kinds of things. So if you're really, really interested in getting that kind of support and in joining that forum and getting ideas as you transition your courses to virtual teaching, that top URL there, that DC forums, will give you a lot more information, the schedule. It's no cost, but like I said, it's moderated by the Dana Center. My colleague, Joan Zellner, is the one that usually leads those, and she's really cool. She's also a whiz with Zoom. So if you want, you can ask all kinds of questions about Zoom. She's really good at it. If you're more into the idea of asynchronous learning, then we also have all of the recorded, we record all of the forums and then store them in this box folder. So that second link will take you to a box folder that has all of the recorded forums. It has all of the chats that are happening behind the scenes. You can kind of pick up on what people are talking about. And then within that folder, there's a whole bunch of resources we're just collecting from all over the place, from faculty everywhere. Resources like how to be a better online teacher, to Zooming, to coping with coronavirus. All of that stuff is available and there for you completely for free. So I will, pass these along at the end of the presentation today so that you can access them and hopefully they can help you transition. And I just want to say, math teachers out there, just hang in there. We'll do this together. So the more we're connecting with each other, the better. So moving away kind of from the idea of just triaging ourselves right now and kind of getting used to the way we do business now, the idea of math co-recs, right? So part of the work that I do is in designing courses that serve the idea of co-rec structures. We do a lot of work with supporting institutions, states. We work all over the place on just trying to build promising practice around co-requisite courses. And so this next folder at the very top of this sheet here is another folder that contains sample syllabi from across the country. There's stuff from California, there's stuff from Texas. There's a bunch of stuff in there in terms of looking at calendars and those kinds of things. So that might be a really useful place for you if you're still thinking about design going into the fall or design now, to find what other people are doing in terms of connecting correct support courses to the actual college level courses. There's a bunch of stuff in there on the ideas of placement to support co-recs. And we also have a folder in there that has a bunch of articles on the research and the trends around co-rec. So if you want to know more about what's going on, please feel free to access that folder. There's lots of really good stuff in there. The last thing I'll share with you is I was supposed to be doing this in person. So I was supposed to be doing a session on kind of practice, right? How we can serve our students in these co-rec settings. And I was really excited about that session as a teacher. I taught all levels. I work at the Dana Center now, but I actually taught at the University of Texas at El Paso. Before that, at El Paso Community College. I taught high school. I taught middle school. I've been all over the place in terms of teaching math. And I was really excited to do a session on differentiated learning in your math classes. Because as you think about core courses, we as math teachers will always start with, okay, let's get the appropriate content down. And that's super important, right? What's the content that's important to support a course? And so once we've kind of got that part down, as we're kind of moving in our development of our courses, then we can start to think about the other things that help students. Right? Do we want to set a curriculum? Do we want to set a culture of belonging and those kinds of things? So I had intended to give a 3-hour session on differentiated learning in math. So now I, like you, have to transition and figure out how to do that online for you. And so I'm hoping to start to work on that over the next week. Please bear with me. This is new to me as well. I've never had the opportunity to teach online. So I'll try my best to create an opportunity for you all to learn a few things about differentiated learning in math. Ideas like low floor, high ceiling activities will really be the focus of that session. So I'm here to support you. Here is my contact information. Oops. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime with questions or things related to CoReqs, or if you want to just talk about teaching in general. So with that, I will pass it over to my colleagues.
Great, thank you so much, Frank. I think I, for one, just not even being a math teacher, but just really appreciate just the awareness of everything that's going on, how quickly folks are having to adapt to such a changing reality and things like that. So I think everybody is just really really grateful to know that there's support out there. I didn't see any questions so far in the questions panel. Was there anything that anybody wanted to ask Frank before we switch over to Anna? If you're interested, you can raise your hand and then I can unmute you. Give it a second, or if you want to okay, let's see. Maria, I am going to unmute you. There you go, Maria. It sounded like you had a question.
Hi, yes, thank you. Yes, hi, Frank. Thank you for joining us. During Keelan's presentation, he talked a little bit about the upcoming TSI, and he actually made a comment that I had a question about regarding the type of calculator that the students are going to be able to use. And I guess this could be a question to both of you. I know that Jonathan Bell raised some questions previously. He's one of our math teachers, and he does wonderful things with math and a Mathematica, software that includes the calculator within. So I'm just wondering, I wanted to learn a little bit more about that from both of your points of view with regards to some of those testing requirements coming up.
Thank you. Keelan, I have unmuted you as well, since
okay,
you might have something to weigh in.
I'll yield to Frank. Did you have a response first?
I can go. That's fine, Keelan. Yeah, I'll come at it more from a just pure pedagogy, pure math kind of approach. I'm present on my mind right now is the pathway to calculus, which is where I do a lot of my work. And so we think a lot about what tools are appropriate for students. When I think about path to calc, right, as you as I kind of reflect on the idea of path to calc in this transition to online learning, I've come to understand that your students have lots of tools available to them that allow them to do the procedural stuff, right? Everything from photo math to whatever they're utilizing. And so I think it's become very critical that we think carefully about the kinds of questions that we're asking students that really dig deeper into the idea of the math learning, right? I think this is an opportunity for us to really think about the kinds of questions we're asking students. So with that in mind, and reflecting back on the idea of technology, path to calc involves the idea of change and involves the idea of kind of thinking how functions and the inputs and outputs that are involved in those functions are actually changing. So one of the tools that I utilize a lot in terms of pedagogy is just desmos.com. It's got the kind of functionality that allows students to really analyze functions and really think about change. So the cool thing about desmos.com, it's free, and it also, students can download it onto their phone, and they can graph all kinds of things at any level. So even if you're doing Calc 3 or something and you really want to think about those big surfaces that are maybe in 3 dimensions, you can create animations on Desmos. So it's a really amazing resources for teachers in general. And there's a bunch of scripts in there already that you can utilize as a teacher. So that's kind of my take on the idea of technology right now. I would add, you can probably extend, if you're doing a good solid quantitative reasoning course and you're really speaking to the idea of modeling, which is an important topic in quantitative reasoning, you can utilize Desmos there as well. Now, in terms of testing, in terms of TSI, I will totally hand that over to Keelan. That's just my take.
Thank you. So, Maria, do me a favor. Repeat your question for me one more time. I want to make sure I have the correct context before I respond.
Yes, I actually wanted clarification. I remember that when you were speaking about the exam, and the changes that are coming about for the fall, there was a comment made regarding the calculators that could be used during the exam. And I just wanted to learn a little bit more about that, because I know some classes are being, they're using a particular one that may not necessarily be the one in the exam, even though obviously they're not in classes yet, so it won't impact the current students. But I just wanted to learn a little bit more, if you remember.
Okay, I got you. So I was specifically referring to the online calculator function that's embedded into the TSIA platform. So when students start the math section, it takes them through kind of like, here's some sample questions, and then also here's a quick tutorial on how to utilize the online calculators. We often get requests and questions from usually our K-12 space in terms of those students that have accommodations to use a handheld calculator in place of an online calculator where necessary, and that's their accommodation. However, with the dynamic capability of being a computer adaptive test that the TSIA is, each math question has already been predetermined to be associated with what type of calculator with which would be available for use on that question, if any. So let's just say if it was if it was a basic arithmetic question, you may have the calculator was associated with that one. It may be a 4-function calculator. However, if you have something where you're dealing with linear equations or graphing, you might have the online graphing calculator available to you, in addition to maybe the 4-function and the scientific. So given that, when we allow, if the differentiation in the use of calculator is really important, because when you get to, okay, you can use a graphing calculator throughout the entire exam. Now you have a more powerful tool that could possibly assist the student in a way that it wasn't designed to do. So each question is already predetermined of what type of calculator will be available. So we want to make sure that the particular constructs that the question is designed to measure are measured with the tool, where there's consistency across the board in terms of Oh, well, I didn't have, and some questions don't even offer the use of a calculator. So therein lies another issue with the use of a handheld calculator all throughout the test. But what I was specifically addressing with the enhancements to the Tsi A2 with the online calculator. So currently, the first time they're exposed to the online calculator is when they actually sit down and take the test. With
Wow.
the Tsi A2, we're moving the online calculator kind of like tutorial outside of the actual test administration platform into the student portal so the student can go in with the help of if they're in a college prep course, if they're taking a developmental education course and they want to take the TSIA again, that student now can have access to those aids that will be available to them in the context of the test administration prior to the test administration. So that's one of the things that we sought to do to make sure that particularly for those students that where the use of a handheld calculator is their accommodation, it's not so much that it's the handheld calculator, it's more about their comfort and familiarity with it. So with this particular change, it allows them to develop that same familiarity and comfort level with this online tool that might not have existed before with the TSIA1, where the first time they saw that calculator was usually when they sat down to actually take the math test. Does that give some more clarity, Dr.
Yes,
Carter?
thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
That
but
that
the
helps.
use, there will be no use of not online, there will be no use of handheld calculators though.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. So I wanted to go ahead and transition over to John and Anna, just so we have plenty of time for them. So Anna, I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter so that I believe you had something so that you could share your screen.
Okay, let me see. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I prepared, we have two short little presentations. I recorded it in a movie for the online content, so I'm gonna play it. If you have any trouble hearing Erin, then I'll put up the PowerPoint and I can go over the PowerPoint if this doesn't work.
That sounds good.
Okay, so let's see. Hello. The title of this presentation is Strong Partnerships Equate to Successful Students, presented by Dr. Ana B. Alanis. Hello. This session is going to be about how to choose a co-requisite partner, how to create common assignments, and the impact that this will have on your student success. By the end of this session, participants will understand the importance of working collaboratively with their co-requisite partners in order to increase student success. So preparing for the co-requisite courses began in 2017 at South Texas College. We began to plan for House Bill 2223, which called for developmental courses to be co-reqed with core component courses. It was at this point that it was decided that in spring 2018, we would pilot a couple of courses to try to find out the challenges and the logistics it would imply to implement the future requirements from the state. This was done in an attempt to provide a better service to the students upon the enforcement of House Bill 2223. The courses that were piloted at that moment were a couple of English courses, an art course, some history courses, and a philosophy course. I was partnered with a philosophy instructor and the challenges began. So the challenges began We were incompatible partners. He wasn't willing to change anything he did. He felt, or at least I sensed, that my job was to be his assistant. And the worst part was that our students could sense this too. We taught from different paradigms. Me from one of an asset-based approach, and him from a deficit one. Or like he would say, our students are tabla rasa, meaning they knew nothing. He penalized them for the most menial mistakes. And it was at this point that I decided to be proactive and to begin recruiting a partner to work with. There were 4 things I was looking in a co-requisite partner. I wanted someone that wanted to work with me and respected the work that I did or that I do, a team player. Someone, and the second requirement, I was looking for someone that shared my common goals and interests about our students, someone that wants to see our students succeed. Thirdly, I was looking for someone that was flexible and understanding that life happens and is willing to work with our students. Lastly, and more importantly, someone that was accessible and approachable to the students and to me. So the person that met all these qualities was Dr. Daryl Reynolds. I approached him and he agreed. He said, anything to help the students. At that point, I knew I had made a good choice. I explained more to him, and once he accepted, I set a meeting with our dean and told her I found a partner that wanted to work with CoRequisites and had accepted to work to be my partner. She immediately accepted the idea. And that summer, both of us attended the Ascender training and became Ascender and Co-Requisite partners. The very first semester we worked together was fall 2018. We both did the My Name, the Cultural Walk, different versions, but same approach. I incorporated the course objective assignment in my class and supported students with vocabulary development. I taught them reading literacy, discipline literacy, study skills, and developed a Quizlet study set for all of Dr. Reynolds' exams. But despite all the work we did together, at the end of the semester, only 71% of the students passed government, and 100% of them passed the INRW course. The second semester, we added another common assignment, and we were teaching 2 co-requisite courses, one Ascender and one regular co-requisite course. Both courses were taught exactly the same. 90% of the Ascender students passed government, and 68% of the regular correct government passed. In INRW, 94% of the Ascender class passed, and 83% of the regular class passed. Our third semester, we added another common assignment, the journal articles. Students would use the same article to write different journals for our classes. There's a disclaimer here that I want to add. This was a small class. There were less than 10 students. 2 of them were failing, but we got them to turn in some missing assignments and they were able to pass. And this was a summer course. Our fourth semester, we left the assignments as we had modified them in the summer because the department changed their book and I had to revise and redo all the Quizlet sets for all the students. Now, moving forward, All of the assignments that we have gradually incorporated have been ideas born at different conferences that both of us have attended together. We have discussed our fall 2020 semester edition. Daryl will switch exam 3 for a research paper, which the students will write in my INW course. He will do that for all his classes to make sure that there is no difference within the teaching of his courses and all the students have the same opportunities. Statistical data. Quantitative data shows patterns, and we strive to do better every semester. But when both of us have the same percentage of students passing, we know our courses are well correlated. Therefore, if you want to provide students with a positive experience in the co-requisite models, recruit a partner, someone you want to work with. And this goes for both developmental education instructors and core component instructors. So we've come to an end of the presentation, or to the closing of the presentation. So I want you to reflect for a minute. Who would you want to work with as a co-requisite partner? Somebody think of somebody in your college. What qualities are you looking for in this individual? Then write them a letter or a simple memo and invite them to be your partners.
Okay, Erin, so that was the first presentation, which was, can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can.
Okay, so that was the short presentation on recruiting your partner for co-requisites. And did you all hear the presentation fine? I know there was a little glitch because I wanted to make it a full screen there. These are my first movies I have ever created. I haven't worked with them that much, so I'm sorry. Now I'm going to play the other one if you want.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay.
And by the way, they looked great. If that's the first time that you've done a movie, it looked wonderful.
Yes, I have taught online, fully online, so that was not a challenge for me to transfer all my courses to online teaching. This was a challenge, but you know, I'm open to learning new things if it benefits my students. I even created a movie for them to send them about the time that we're in and the transition that we're doing. And this other presentation, John and I'm going to put the video, it's fully done. And then afterwards, John and I will be available to answer any questions on either the first presentation or this presentation as well. I can't minimize that screen, the Go Meeting screen, because it seems to take off the movie. So I'm just gonna leave it there. So, or unless you want me to, yeah. Do you want me to do the full screen, or you want me to leave it like that and just leave this on the side? Whatever you think works best, Erin.
So Anna, on the GoToWebinar panel, under sharing, if you see like a play button that says show and there's like a little drop down menu there, you might be able to pick the challenges and opportunities and just share that. So see if that works.
It doesn't let me.
Okay. All right. Then I would say just do whatever you think is best and whatever works.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Challenges and opportunities in co-requisites, presented by Dr. Ana B. Lanis. Hello all, and welcome back. In an attempt to reform developmental education through co-requisite courses, the literacy education lens, the reading component somehow has gotten lost in the argument, which is the focus of this session. Where do we stand on this argument? What are the challenges and opportunities of co-requisites? By the end of this session, participants will understand that each co-requisite partner has a different function. They will also have a clear understanding of discipline literacies and best practices in teamwork moving forward. Let's begin with a short sentence that I want you to fill in. So you can pause the presentation to fill in the sentence at hand. Co-requisites are like because. And if I'm going to give you about a minute or so, so you can add it in the chat. Co-requisites are like because. So I'll give you about a minute to do that, and then we'll continue the session.
Okay, I have one from Maria that says co-requisites are like marriage because you have to compromise.
Okay, I'm gonna press go. I'm gonna play, and you guys can see the response.
I have one more.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I have one more. One more response. Haikyung wrote, co-requisites are like fishing a particular fish in a big ocean. And she says, because I have to fish my students or get my students to come to class. Oh, wait, we have some more. Sarah says, co-requisites are like a train because it needs all parts to continue moving. Delia says that co-requisites are like partners because they work together. And Anne Fletcher says co-requisites are like partnerships because two people agree to work together and plan together.
Awesome. Those are all awesome. I'm going to use some of those for my future presentations, but I'm going to share with you some of the ones that I had heard in other presentations. So I want to share with you some common answers from developmental instructors to the sentence that was placed before you. Some instructors said it's like buying gumballs because you never know what you're going to get, the purple one that you love or the white one nobody wants. It's like traveling with someone else's suitcase. You don't know if the clothes is going to fit, if you are going to like it or not. It's like a bad marriage because there's no communication among the partners. Or it's like a marriage because you have a partner who needs support with the children you both share. Now, I also want you to think about correctly, what do you think students would say to co-recking is like for students? Because if we were to pose the question to students, what do you think they would say about our co-requisite courses? Would it be a positive experience? Would there be a connection or a disconnection in that sense for them? Now, co-recking is not only about the process, it's about people as well. And it's not only about how the developmental course will complement the core course, but a great impact on the process has to do with the people, with the person that you are paired with. The top 3 comments on co-requisites. One of them in this argument, that's not included here, but in this argument, one of the things is that the reading component is being lost in the argument. But when you ask people about co-requisites, these are the top 3 comments. We've been doing this. This is a mandate without telling us how to do it. And co-requisites work. And so I ask you, how do we define work? How do we define success in co-requisites? Is it if they pass the academic course? Is that they do? Does that prove that they work? Or is success defined if they do well on the upcoming courses? Or is success defined by completion of the courses or completion of their degree? So those are things we need to think about. And again, I'm going to ask you to pause the presentation for a minute or two and to articulate, what do we do? Explain it to students, maybe a colleague, maybe to a parent. So what is it that we do in co-requisites? Take a couple of minutes and jot that down. What do we do in co-requisites? What is your function? Whether you're a developmental instructor or a core component instructor, what do we do in co-requisites?
And so go ahead and take a couple of minutes, and you can share that on the chat, and then Erin will share it with the rest of us. There, I got it to work.
Yay, awesome job.
So we'll do about a minute, Erin, and then if you get any comments, we can share, and if not, we can move on.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Jeanette says, we work together to support the student, not just in the course, but in life. Co-recs on a micro level help us collaborate and integrate assignments and best practices to best support the student's success in the course. Anne Fletcher says, we teach reading and writing strategies to help students be successful in their college credit courses.
Exactly. Thank you.
Haik Young says, to students, we try to encourage them to see the benefits of this model along with threatening them or begging them.
Exactly, all good answers. Do we have any more?
To threatening them and begging them to come to class.
Okay, so if we don't have any more, we'll continue with the presentation.
Oh, I have one more. I have one more. I don't see who this is from. I apologize. It says, we try to accelerate learning for students that are not college ready, but being so does not mean that they do not care about their education.
Okay. Okay, so I'll continue with the presentation.
What is disciplinary literacy? What would you say your level of familiarity with disciplinary literacy is? Would you consider yourself an expert? I think I know, a novice, or a rookie? How would you consider yourself when it comes to disciplinary literacy? Or what is disciplinary literacy? Well, let's find out. Let's view this video together from Dr. Shananan, and then we'll talk about disciplinary literacy.
So let me see if I can. It's supposed to be linked, but it doesn't seem to be allowing me to link, but I can access it. I should be able to access it in our content or directly from YouTube.
sciences are actually a little different, or literature, you have to.
Sorry.
In a particular discipline like history or science, or any of the sciences are actually a little different, or literature, you should really know something about the discipline itself, because every discipline has certain expectations. They have different ways of creating knowledge. Each discipline has a different way of sharing that knowledge with each other, and each discipline has a different way of evaluating that knowledge. So historians base their stories that they create on documents as evidence. Those documents were created in the past, so they can't do experiments. Scientists do experiments, and they have particular kinds of questions they're asking about the world that are different than the kinds of questions that historians are asking about the world. Those who study literature are in a totally different realm, so they have different ideas about what they expect in terms of a good historical narrative, a good science experiment, a good analysis of a piece of literature. They have different expectations because they started out with different questions. So these disciplines are really different. And if you know a little bit about what the expectations are in the discipline, that can guide your reading. It can provide you with an approach to reading that'll give you a more critical, deep knowledge about what you're reading. So disciplinary literacy is the literacy that you would use in studying a particular discipline.
In the video, she's talking about disciplinary literacy and how each discipline holds different expectations for our students. And I'm asking you, how long did it take you to be an expert in your literacy? In your discipline, I'm sorry. So if a student is taking a biology course, an English course, and a history class, and a developmental education course, and this student walks into his biology class, his professor expects him to read like a biologist, to think like a biologist, to write like a biologist, to use the text as a biologist, to value the text, and to question like an expert. And then he walks into his history class, same thing. He walks into his English class and he's expected to be an English expert. And then the education class is trying to make him an expert in those fields. So it took us years to become experts in our fields, but we expect them to be experts in our fields in that semester that they're in our class. So to pose the challenge, I would ask you, if I were to ask you to describe this apple, based on your discipline, you would write a different description. If you are a biologist, you would define this apple based on your knowledge. If you were a historian, you would write a different explanation or a different description of the apple. If you were an artist, you would see it differently. So we all see things differently based on our disciplines. And that's our expectation when our students come in. So we have to be very careful that we're not assuming that our students are experts, or we're not teaching as if our students were experts in our field. We need to teach them the concepts. Disciplinary literacy. So we have to expose our students to informational texts. because that's what's going to help them to function in their core component classes. And we also have to facilitate experiential and integrated learning within our co-requisite classrooms. So we are providing meaningful experiences for our students. And research suggests that developing deep understanding of the text requires explicit instruction in the reading comprehension and scaffold strategy so our students can succeed in those courses. So regardless if we're developmental education or developmental reading or academic experts, we have to provide that for our students. So according to Dr. Armstrong, the tasks at hand are, firstly, as an expert, you have to, or in this partnership, we both partners have to understand what it means to be text-ready based on the literacy standards. What are the demands, the practices, the expectations, the introductory level general education courses and the career technical education courses require of our students. We also have to determine how and to what extent developmental reading courses is scaffolding student learning in the literacy expectations for the general education courses and the career technical education courses. Only with this information can purposeful circular design include choice of appropriate course structures be undertaken. So first we have to understand this and what role we play, and then we design. So I ask you to pause the presentation for a couple of minutes and to write, what does it mean to be text ready?
So again, what does it mean for our students to be text ready? Is it when they pass the TSI? What does it mean for our students to be text ready? And one or two comments, and then we'll move on. So we can give you an opportunity to ask questions at the end. And Erin will read the comments for us.
I will.
So do we have any comments yet, Erin?
We have one that just came in from Dr. Chavez that says you have the cognitive flexibility to understand basic principles in different disciplines.
Thank you, Dr. Chavez.
Anne Fletcher has written, being text ready means having the necessary reading and critical thinking skills to understand text.
Thank you, Anne.
Those are the ones I have so far. Anna, if you want to keep going, that'll be good.
We'll continue.
Dr. Armstrong conducted research and analyzed different textbooks that were used in developmental education, general education, and career technology courses. And her guiding questions for this study were the following. What are the text expectations, including text types, tasks, and goals? How do these text expectations align in developmental reading courses, in general education, and career technical education courses? And these are her findings. The text types that are used in developmental reading are predominantly workbook style, practice textbooks, and fiction novels. Predominantly, not everyone, but most developmental readings. In general education, more expository texts are used, including field-specific textbooks, and in some disciplines such as history, primary and secondary sources are also used, and students are expected to read that and understand. Developmental the tasks. In developmental reading, the text-associated tasks appears to be largely geared towards comprehension checks. So do you understand what you read? And in the general education, they're far more likely to be, the readings are going to be quizzes. The tasks after the readings are going to be quizzes, tests, and with some text-supported essay assessments, including a few courses. Developmental reading, the goal for text use. So in developmental reading, the goal for student use of text was aimed at providing practice, identifying main ideas, developing vocabulary, reviewing strategy use. Whereas in general education, the goal for students' use of the text was as a support, and in a few cases, a supplement to the instructor for learning the course content. The text complexity, the readability levels was also analyzed. And developmental reading, the AGL is estimated across developmental reading text as 7.6, or range between 6.3 and 9.5, which is from the average was 7th grade, and it ranged from the 6th grade to the 10th grade. In general education, the majority of the AGL scores were at an 11th grade level estimate or above. Now, the Lexile is another measure for readability, and those results were almost exactly the same as the AGL. They range from 762.5 Lexile to a high 1030 Lexile, which is like a 7th grade to a 10th grade level. In general education, the bulk of general education courses text individual pages sampled from a level 17 to 24, at or above the 11th grade reading level. So where are we in co-requisites as far as reading, readability, and text? So in general education, the co-rec instructor expects the students to come in college ready by the beginning. In developmental level INRW, college reading is expected by the end. So as instructors, we come in with different expectations and with the knowledge that our students are at a certain level, and our expectations are different. So what? So let's reflect on this point. How do we bridge that gap? Knowing what we know about the level of our students, about the readability, about discipline literacy, how or what are we going to do in our respective courses with the aforementioned knowledge? How are we going to work together to bridge this gap and provide the needs that are...
Okay, Erin. So how are we going to best provide to serve the needs of our students? We will, I guess you could take back the screen, Erin, and we're open to questions.
Okay, so something that I wanted to point out, Mario, I think in the context of talking about Sonia Armstrong's work, Mario wrote in that this was especially true for learning mathematics. Learning to read math is very time consuming and requires several out of the ordinary study skills.
I'm sure it does. Thank you, Mario, for the comment.
So Mario, building on that, actually just wrote in, has there been any research into the study of learning to read mathematics?
No, and I was just thinking as that question came in that you might be perfect to do that study, because I know you're always talking about the reading of math, and so you are very knowledgeable on that subject. I don't know of any research. Frank is the expert in math, so maybe you could answer that, Frank.
That is a great question that I have no answer for either. Yeah, my expertise is not necessarily in the idea of reading in math. I can offer just some of the things that we do in a practical way in terms of just curriculum development. And so for us, the idea of reading math is very important. I think often the opportunity to read can be done in a variety of different ways. And so rethinking the way you approach the content is important. So if you're flipping your classroom and you're having students, you're giving students to read outside of class in terms of preparatory assignments, that gives them a chance to read at their own levels, right, at their own speeds. And so, to set that up requires us to rethink the way we approach mathematics. And so, Mario, I think the important part here is context. So often we decontextualize mathematics, but contextualizing mathematics opens up the opportunity to read things that matter to students, things that are happening in the real world. You don't have to go beyond the current virus to be able to read studies and look at the mathematics and the exponential growth that we're actually going through in terms of the virus. So that's just from my curriculum development experience, but not in terms of research.
Yeah, Mario added on that learning mathematics requires tremendous reading skills and abilities, and there's definitely a correlation between success in developmental math and developmental reading. There should be a national large-scale study of these interrelated concerns. Mario, just I think from a perspective of me doing research on this, I mean, I could definitely see how that would be an extremely fundable study. Something that Dr. Chavez just sent that I can share with y'all was just, she did a quick search on academia.edu on mathematics literacy. So I will share this out with everybody just in case they want to look at it. Let me see if there's any more. Something I think speaking to Maria's points that are all great points is that the research in developmental education that you assume would be there is just often not there. And so even in post-secondary settings, for example, there's not a whole lot of research that's been done on really understanding the connections between reading and writing, which we all know anecdotally and logically we understand, but there hasn't necessarily been a whole lot. Jonathan makes a point. I think solving a math problem is the same as writing an argumentative essay. The student is to use logic and the rules of math to convince me their answer is correct. Is there any research in this area?
Again,
and Dr. Chavez is, oh, sorry. I was just going to say that Dr. Chavez has made the point a lot of the work is primarily in K-12, but a lot of the ideas are transferable. So Anna, I think you were talking.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jonathan's view on how the two translate, the readability. But again, I don't know of a lot of research, but there's a lot. Jonathan, Mario, you guys are experts on this, and I think that's really an awesome study to be done. I would be willing to work on the reading side.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, what I'm hearing you talk about in terms of making the argument, as we think about the idea of rigor in math, right? The idea of using language with clarity and precision is one that's fundamental for really wrapping our brains around what rigor really means in mathematics. So you're absolutely right. In terms of where the field is moving towards in mathematics and describing rigor, it is exactly what you just described, being able to talk through that problem with logic. So that's where I can point you to some ideas in terms of rigor that might have some connections to where that research is, or how the research supports that idea. Just let me know if you want it. I'll go look for it as we speak.
If
Do we
it's
have any
helpful, if it's helpful to folks, I just did a Google Scholar search on mathematics literacy in college and pulled up some things that may not be totally relevant to what we're talking about, especially in regards to the context of co-recs and things like that. But there might be some research that's out there just with a little bit of digging. Let's see. Dr. Chavez has said, I think the main point is that students that are not college ready will struggle because they are still strengthening their literacy skills, and understanding abstract concepts in another discipline is difficult. It is for that reason that we promote literacy across disciplines. That means all classes do at least some reading and writing.
I totally agree. Thank you, Marta, for your comment.
Oh, and just to draw, I'm gonna recopy a link from Frank for the Dana Center, and it's on rigor in mathematics, and that is a good start, maybe a good starting place for everybody. Okay, are there any other waiting? Oh, one. Nope. Okay, well we're at 124. Oh, just kidding. Oh, Deborah wrote about reading strategies across disciplines. Just for everyone who is on the call, Dr. Chavez is making a plug for the Journal of Ideas and Pedagogy, which is our internal journal, and we are currently hoping to explore these types of issues not only in the journal, but as well as future webinars. So if these are issues that you're interested in presenting on or exploring more, perhaps writing about, let us know, because part of a big mission of Catch the Next is to also develop folks as scholar practitioners. Okay, it's 1:25, so does Frank, Anna, John, does anybody have any final thoughts? Let me check. That they want to share. Otherwise, I can hand it over to Dr. Chavez to wrap us up for the day.
I just want to thank everybody for being such a wonderful audience. At least we get to talk to each other and see each other virtually. So just be safe, and thank you for being in the presentation. It was awesome presenting to you guys.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unmute Dr. Chavez just if she wants to add any final thoughts before we end. Dr. Chavez?
Yes, thank you so much, Erin. And thanks everyone for joining us today. With you, we're learning how to navigate this hybrid online version of our seminars. Please remember that all of you should have received a copy of the press book. It is very important that you go through all those materials, particularly if you plan to earn credit for this seminar. We have monthly webinars that are associated with the seminar. So please join us for the April version, the third week of April, and there will also be one in May. Those two are part of the requirements for the course. Even if you're not going to get credit for the course, for the seminar, please feel free to join us. We are promoting a community of practice where we come together and learn from one another. So any of the issues that we explore that you're familiar with, or that you come across information pertaining to that, that would be a way that you're able to share the information with people that share the same vision and mission that many of you have. I cannot emphasize enough the significance of working not just with our same discipline partners. I think from the last presentation, you gather how much we are encouraging partnerships with other faculties in other courses. English and math, of course, are crucial. They're important, but we need to also consider that most correct courses focus on one semester. And if we really care about completion, Keelan gave us all that data on completion numbers, which is what we're committing to working on. If you care about that, do consider pairing up with partners in gateway courses that are interested in teaching students from a culturally relevant context, that are interested in validating students, and that are interested in taking students where they are and strengthening their literacy skills. Because if you're still struggling with English, if you're going to enter an economics class or a philosophy class or even a history class, you may have difficulty with abstract concepts related to that subject matter. So we think that it's crucial that even in math, they continue to read out loud, or that they pair with an instructor that is going to, maybe in learning frameworks or in another class, have them read about Hidden Figures or Whistling Vivaldi, or watch the movie Stand and Deliver, things that would motivate them to pursue math, um, and to even write about the problems that they solve, the equations. Because if you're not going to understand the question, you're not going to be able to explain your answer. So, we want to thank you. We want you to recognize this is just a part of what we would have done if we were together in person. And and we're learning to do this hybrid version as well, so we appreciate your patience and tolerance with our computers not being up to par, because the whole country and the world is really suffering from poor access because of the demand on technology when everyone is working at home. But I think that we had excellent presentations. We have an excellent moderator. And by the way, Erin is the one moderating all of our webinars. And she's also going to be engaged in our Journal of Ideas and Pedagogy, and handling the peer reviews and other things. And we want you to write down your reflections, to write about the process, the challenges, and all those things. And we're hoping to be able to do a special edition this summer that addresses the implementation of co-requisite courses in the state and beyond. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. And we will see your comments on the press book as you go through the other part of this seminar with us. So
Maria,
thanks, Karen.
Maria, we had one late question that came in that it's just, would you mind clarifying future requirements to get UT credit?
Yes, all of you should have the press book, and after you do each reading, you are to provide a reflection for each one. Um, and that would fulfill the course requirement. And if you have any questions, you contact me, and we can go from there. If you have any questions regarding registration with UT and the like, you can contact me or Juan Iga. Most of you have his information. And if you want additional information regarding the webinars, you can contact Erin. I think you'll have all of our numbers, or we'll send that contact information to you. And anything regarding future professional development, you can contact Allegra, our Director of Professional Development. And I want to give her a shout out. she's not feeling well, but she did spend a lot of time working with everyone, pulling together the press book. So we want to thank her as well for her work. Any other questions or
No,
comments?
but I think, Jeanette, you asked about the future webinar dates. I will send those out to everybody. And other than that, I have muchas gracias, CTN. So fortunate to be part of a great team that inspires to best serve my students. So thank you, Lori, for that.
Thank you, Lori. Excellent. Well, thanks everyone. We appreciate your presence, and stay healthy and safe, okay? Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Likewise. Bye.